We're going to provide a briefing on this evening's officer-involved shooting. This incident began around 6 p.m. this evening in northwest Aurora. The suspect involved was an attendee at a work release program for Arapahoe County monitored prisoners at a facility near the corner of Colfax and Moline. This facility is for people who have been sentenced and have mental health and substance abuse issues. The Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office deputy was called to the facility because of this subject's rule violations, and he was causing a disturbance. And pursuant to the Sheriff's Department's policy, he was to be taken into custody and returned to jail. The deputy located the subject at the corner of Colfax and Moline. The suspect was reported to be armed with a large knife. The deputy called for police assistance. While this was happening, the suspect crossed Colfax and went into a nearby convenience store. The Aurora Police Department then received calls that an armed robbery had occurred inside that store. The suspect then returned to the bus stop on the northwest corner of Colfax and Moline and entered a bus that was stopped there at the time. APD officers then entered the bus and encountered the suspect. A taser and a canine were deployed on the suspect. And then there was a confrontation, and 2 officers discharged their weapons. The suspect was hit inside the bus. Immediate medical assistance was rendered to him. He was transported to the University Hospital. All officers were in uniform and were wearing body cameras. The suspect was pronounced deceased around 6:30. Additional video is likely to be available from inside the bus. There were multiple civilian and officer witnesses to this event. As is pursuant to our policy, the 17th Judicial District Critical Incident Response Team was called out to investigate the event. Sheriff Brown joined me at the scene. I also called the RTD Chief, Joel Fitzgerald, and conferred with him since the incident involved an RTD bus. The officers who discharged their weapons were placed on administrative leave, consistent with our policy. And in the sort of chaos of this event, there are some people who are on the bus that we didn't get to speak to. So we believe there are more witnesses out there. We are speaking to some civilian witnesses who were on the bus, but we are asking that anyone who was a witness to this event please contact the police department. The suspect who is deceased is a 35-year-old white male. And with that, we will take questions. Do you have any questions?
Were there other people on the bus at the time of the shooting? It sounds like there were.
Yes, there were.
Was anybody else injured?
No one else was injured in the incident.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what transpired between the time when one of your deputies made contact with the individual and when they seemingly lost track of them and did an armed robbery and then went onto the bus?
Well, the deputy encountered him, okay, and chose to back off and call us via his radio, call our dispatch and get our response. Simultaneous with that, the suspect was observed going across the street and entering the convenience store. We then got 911 calls that a robbery had occurred inside the convenience store. The suspect then came out, went across the street, and got on the bus. So all of that happened, sort of relatively quickly.
One of the people that I spoke to on scene said that they were on the bus and they saw the suspect, attempting to hurt individuals who were on the bus, civilians on the bus, with the knife. Is that something that you encountered as well?
We would prefer not to go into any more details. This is exactly what the CERT team from the 17th District is investigating, and they will have the advantage of having all that video from the officers and also from the camera inside the bus. So I'd prefer to let that process take its course and let the CERT team come to the appropriate conclusions when they are done with the investigation and answer those kinds of questions.
Chief, I don't know what you can and cannot tell us, but is there anything you could say about how this escalated from taser, canine, weapons, or guns?
No, other than to tell you that a taser was deployed, was not successful. Canine was deployed, was not successful. And we know that at some point in the confrontation, 2 other officers fired their handguns.
Would you call this a standoff?
I don't know. What does standoff mean?
People involved, potential victims or whatever. I mean, you said there were people on the bus at the time this occurred, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, along that line, did he have hostages? Like, how quickly did this all transpire?
My understanding is it happened fairly quickly. I wouldn't describe it as a hostage situation. It was a confrontation between the officers and the suspect.
I know that you guys have co-responder programs. Was there ever the opportunity to send a co-responder,
You mean a mental health clinician?
Yes.
My understanding is that there was no one with those skills working at the time of this event.
Did the suspect present a direct danger to anybody who was on the bus?
Again, the officers made the judgment to deploy a taser, to deploy canine, and eventually 2 officers fired their weapons. What the rationale behind those judgments and those decisions are subject to investigation, so I'd prefer not to comment.
Where was the deputy during all this?
The deputy was outside of the bus. He had been called to the facility to address some rule violations that had occurred and a disturbance that had occurred at that location, and the deputy was able to locate the suspect at Moline and Colfax.
Is there anything you can tell us about the rules of engagement involving a deputy and police officers in the city?
So they're peace officers in the state of Colorado, so they have the same authority to effect arrests and take people into custody, especially in these situations when an individual is on specific charges and has been sentenced to this facility, and they were attempting to do that in a peaceful manner.
Any other questions?
Were any officers injured?
No one else was injured in the incident. Okay, folks, if you don't have any more questions. All right, thank you very much.
Wait, one more question, sorry, from
Yeah.
somebody watching at home. Can you elaborate a little bit more, and this might be something that only CERT can do once the report is out, but can you elaborate a little bit more about how force was justified in that escalation from a taser to a canine to...
It's a great question. It's precisely why another agency is investigating this event. Okay, I can confirm for you that we had reports of an armed robbery. We had the observations of the deputy who was on scene who was contacting us, and we had this confrontation inside the bus. And beyond that, those are questions for the completion of the CERT investigation and whatever letter evaluation that the district attorney releases in this event.
So at this time, you can't say if they launched...
Correct, and I want to make a point that any further questions after tonight about this matter have to be directed to the CERT team. Okay?
Just to get official word from you, was this in any way related to the armed pursuits that occurred in the area?
No, that's a completely unrelated event.
Were
Okay?
those resolved?
I don't have a lot of details.
Okay.
There were a series of armed robberies later this evening, apparently committed by the same person in a very short span. There was a pursuit of the vehicle that he was using, which was stolen. It was a pursuit into Denver, and he abandoned the vehicle. We have recovered the vehicle. We have not yet located the suspect.
As
So
far as we
completely unrelated to this event,
Nobody was hurt in those incidents.
as far as I know at this time. Okay? All right, folks, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.